You entered into an experience like this yourself when you were reporting on gangs in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you traveled with some Christian ministers.
Jane and Glenn Fitzgerald.
And those people had opened a door for you to access this story.
Yeah.
And as your way of expressing your gratitude to them or your respect for them, you opened yourself up to them pitching you on Jesus, basically. You remember this story?
Of course I do.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was a big thing. I mean, well, first of all, it was interesting to me that the only people who weren't cops, who could tell me as an outsider about gangs and how they worked, were these missionaries. That I'm a decent reporter, and I talked to a lot of people around the city of Chicago, and so if I wanted an in with gang members, either I had to go through the cops, which presented a number of real problems, or I found Jane and Glenn, and they really knew a lot of gangbanger kids because they met them in the prison, and those kids put them in touch with other kids, and they just moved in that world in a way that very few non-gang people did. And interestingly too, just thinking about the role of Christianity in our society. When I would talk to the gang kids, and I would say to them, so who in your life is trying to talk you out of being in a gang besides, the two missionaries? Your parents, your teachers, who you got? Uniformly, they would all say, nobody. These are the only two people. Everybody in the family just assumes, yeah, a lot of kids get into gangs. You'll be in the gang for a couple years. Everybody's in the gang, and the teachers just feel like it's a lost cause. I mean, occasionally be a teacher, but you know what I mean? For the kids who I met, the half dozen or dozen kids who I was following and profiling for those stories, they had nobody but the missionaries. So anyway, so there's a period of a month or two where I was spending a lot of time with Jane and Glenn, these missionaries, and I really got to know them. I really liked them. I felt a real affinity for them. I mean, I just liked them. They were both super funny, no bullshit kind of people. Glenn's from Texas and is a big sports fan, so we had nothing to talk about because I couldn't talk about sports with him. But at least we had nothing to talk about when it came to sports. And but I just enjoyed them. I felt like they were really interested in the kids, and I was really interested in the kids. And that's enough to make a friendship out of. Turns out,
Were you waiting? Were you anticipating them pitching you?
I don't remember if I was. I remember though there was one night where we were driving out to a correctional facility, and it was just me and Glenn, and I was in his car, and he knew that we had an hour and a half drive, and he told us it was nighttime. And I remember we were driving, and I think it was raining, and so the car has that feeling of you're a little spaceship traveling in a totally dark world, and rain coming down, and windshield wipers beating, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad we had this time because I've been meaning to talk to you about this thing. He says, now, don't you think it's interesting? Don't you think there might be a reason why you are so interested in this subject and why we met you and don't you think...
How long ago was this incident?
20 years ago.
Okay. All right. So you're in the car with Glenn.
And
he's setting you up.
Yeah. And 18 years ago. And we would talk about religion quite a bit before that because I was interested in what message were they saying to the kids that got through.
Right.
Because they were getting through to a lot of kids.
Right.
They had a pretty good track record. And I was curious, what made them missionaries. They were really interesting. They were young. They were a young couple that just invented this job for themselves out of nothing, out of a real sense of duty to others, and I liked them and respected them, and just so I talked to them a lot about religion actually, and Glenn said, the fact that you're interested in us and that you're so interested in religion, don't you think that there might be a reason for that God has sent you here for a reason?
Sure.
And he says, now I got to tell you, I feel obliged to tell you the way I see things, and here's how I see it. And he witnessed for me, and I really thought about it. Actually, it's one of the times where somebody who I felt close to you know, really tried to make me think about, did I believe in God, and why would I not believe in God? I remember we had a whole like argument about why did I believe in God or not, and all that. And I told him I would think about it, and I did, and we talked about it again, I remember. And really, like when I thought about it, with the seriousness that he was asking me to, like in the end, like I don't know if this made any sense to him, but I feel like the best way I could explain it to him was that believing or not believing in God wasn't something that I felt like I had a choice about. I simply found I didn't believe. It seemed attractive to believe. It seems like you get a lot out of belief if you have it. And I had witnessed with my own eyes the change that belief had made in the lives of people who I'd met, especially these gang kids.
Sure.
It totally changed their lives. Taking people who not just like got them off the streets, but people who were drug addicts and like really had serious problems, didn't, you know, and got them out of that. Like it gave them the strength to get out of that in a way that few things I think could have. And so I witnessed how faith totally changed people's lives. But when I looked at what I believed myself, I just found I didn't believe in the same way that it was almost like you're going out with somebody and you don't love them and you wished you loved them, but you just look in your heart and you realize like, I don't love this person. I shouldn't be with this person. And it was like that. It's like I felt like I didn't have a choice about it. In the same way you don't have a choice about like whether you love somebody or not. It simply was a fact in me that I didn't believe and that it didn't rest with me.
How did Glenn respond to your non-acceptance?
I don't totally remember.
Did your relationship continue with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But also I think like I feel like we were pretty upfront about it. Now that you say this, I feel like I remember him saying like, "You get this round, but we will fight another day."
Oh, I see. Okay.
I feel like he had kind of I think he viewed me as kind of a longer term project. I'm sure if I was still living in Chicago right now, every now and then I'd be getting a call and we would get together or something.
And you'd get together with him?
I would totally get together with him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.